The night was cold and wet, and the sound of rain echoed softly against the tin roof of a small garage at the edge of town. Inside, Ethan Cole, a single father in his late 30s, was finishing up his last job of the day. His worn hands were covered in grease, and the dim light overhead flickered with exhaustion, just like him. He wiped his forehead and looked at the old wall clock. It was nearly midnight. His 10-year-old daughter, Lily, sat quietly in a corner, drawing on an old notepad while humming to herself. "Almost done, sweetheart," Ethan said with a tired smile. "Just one more bolt, and we'll head home." Lily nodded and smiled back. "Okay, Daddy, can we have pancakes tomorrow?" He chuckled softly. "If I can afford the syrup, then yes." Just as he tightened the last screw on the car's engine, a faint sound reached his ears, a muffled cry. He paused, frowning. The garage doors were half closed, and the storm outside made it hard to tell where the sound came from. But there it was again, a voice, weak and trembling. "Daddy," Lily whispered, her eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Ethan grabbed a flashlight and walked toward the sound. When he stepped outside, the wind cut through his jacket like ice. He swept the beam of light across the driveway and toward the edge of the garage. That's when he saw them, a woman and a young boy, soaked to the bone, lying beside the dumpster. The woman's face was bruised, and her hands were trembling. The boy, around Lily's age, was clutching her arm, his eyes wide with fear. "Hey, hey," Ethan shouted, rushing over. "Are you okay?" The woman tried to speak but only managed a whisper. "Please, help us." Ethan didn't hesitate. He scooped the boy into his arms and helped the woman to her feet, bringing them inside the garage. Lily jumped up from her chair, startled. "Lily, get the blanket from the back," Ethan ordered. Lily ran to the small cot where she slept sometimes and grabbed the old, worn blanket. Ethan wrapped it around the woman's shoulders and knelt in front of her. "What happened to you?" he asked gently. The woman looked around nervously before whispering, We were attacked. I didn't know where else to go." "Attacked?" Ethan's voice grew firm. "By who?" She hesitated, then looked at him with terrified eyes. "My husband's family. They want us dead." Ethan blinked in disbelief. "What are you talking about?" Before she could answer, the boy suddenly coughed, shivering violently. Ethan handed him a towel and a cup of warm water. "What's your name, buddy?" he asked softly. The boy's lips trembled. "Jacob." "Okay, Jacob, you're safe now, all right. You're safe here." The woman finally gathered her strength. "My name is Claire. Claire Whitmore." Ethan froze. That name sounded familiar. The Whitmore family owned the largest oil company in the state, Whitmore Energy. They were billionaires. Their faces were often on TV, attending galas and charity events. "Wait," Ethan said slowly. "As in, Whitmore Oil?" Claire nodded weakly. "Yes." Ethan sat back, stunned. "You're saying you're part of that family?" She nodded again, tears welling up in her eyes. "My husband, Adam, was the rightful heir to the company. But when he died in a suspicious car accident, his brother, Marcus, took control. When I started asking questions, he sent men after me. They found me tonight." Ethan's jaw tightened. "And your son? They would have killed him too if we hadn't escaped," she said, her voice breaking. "We ran for hours. I saw the light in your garage. I didn't know where else to go." Ethan rubbed his face, processing everything. "You need a hospital." "No," she cried, grabbing his arm. "If they find out we're alive, they'll finish what they started. Please, don't call anyone yet." Lily looked from her father to the woman, then back again. "Daddy, can they stay here tonight?" Ethan hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah, they can." He helped Claire lie down on the cot, while Lily gave Jacob one of her blankets. The storm outside raged on, but inside, there was a fragile sense of safety. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He sat by the small window, watching the rain, thinking about what Claire had said. He didn't know how to handle something like this. He was just a mechanic, barely able to pay rent. But he knew one thing: he couldn't let anyone hurt that woman or her son. By morning, the storm had cleared. Ethan made breakfast, toast and eggs, the best he could manage. Claire thanked him softly, though her eyes were heavy with worry. "You don't have to thank me," Ethan said. "I'm just doing what anyone would do." "Not everyone would risk their life for strangers," she replied quietly. Before Ethan could answer, he noticed a black SUV slowly driving past the garage. His instincts kicked in. He stepped to the window, pretending not to notice, but his pulse quickened. The SUV stopped briefly, then drove off. They've found us, Claire whispered, panic rising in her voice. Maybe it's nothing, Ethan said, though he didn't believe it. But a few minutes later, the SUV returned, and this time, 2 men got out. Lily, take Jacob to the back room, Ethan said sharply. The men knocked on the garage door, their tone aggressive. Open up, we're looking for someone. Ethan wiped his hands and opened the door just a crack. Can I help you? One of the men flashed a fake badge. We're looking for a woman and a kid. They were seen in this area. You seen them? Ethan's heart pounded. No idea what you're talking about. The man tried to push past him, but Ethan blocked the way. You got a warrant. The man smirked. You really want to do this the hard way? Before Ethan could respond, Claire stepped out from behind a car engine, holding a wrench like a weapon. Leave us alone, she shouted. The men's faces changed instantly. One lunged toward her, but Ethan grabbed a metal bar and swung, hitting him in the side. The other drew a gun, but Ethan ducked behind the hood of a car, shoving a toolbox toward him. The heavy metal case knocked the man's aim off just long enough for Ethan to tackle him. Lily screamed from the back as Jacob held her hand tightly. After a short but brutal struggle, both men were unconscious. Ethan was breathing hard, his knuckles bleeding. We have to go, he said, grabbing his jacket. They'll send more. Claire nodded, trembling. But where? Ethan thought for a moment. I know a place. My friend owns a cabin out by the lake. Nobody'll find you there. They packed what little they could and drove off in Ethan's old pickup truck. As they passed the edge of town, the sun broke through the clouds for the first time in days. Claire looked at Ethan, tears in her eyes. Why are you helping us? She asked softly. Ethan glanced at her, then back at the road. Because I know what it's like to lose everything. I lost my wife 5 years ago. Cancer. We had nothing left but each other, me and Lily. Nobody helped us then, so maybe I'm just trying to be the kind of person I wish we had. Claire looked away, her throat tightening. Thank you, she whispered. They reached the cabin by afternoon. It was small but safe, surrounded by pine trees and silence. For a while, it felt like the world outside had disappeared. Lily and Jacob played near the lake, laughing for the first time since the chaos began. That night, Claire sat by the fire, watching the flames dance. I can't keep running forever, she said quietly. Marcus controls everything. The company, the lawyers, the police. Ethan stared into the fire. Then we expose him. She shook her head. I tried. No one would listen. Then we make them listen, he said firmly. I know a guy, a reporter. He owes me a favor. If you've got proof, we can go public. Claire hesitated, then pulled a small flash drive from her necklace. Adam gave me this before he died. He said if anything happened to him, this would prove everything. Ethan took it carefully. Then this might just save your lives. The next day, Ethan drove to town and met with his old friend, Mike, a local journalist. When Mike saw what was on the drive, bank records, emails, bribes, it was enough to destroy Marcus Whitmore's empire. This is huge, Mike said. But if I publish this, he'll come after everyone involved. Ethan looked him dead in the eye. Then make sure it's worth it. Within 48 hours, the story broke nationwide. Whitmore oil scandal, heirs widow reveals shocking truth. Marcus Whitmore was arrested on charges of embezzlement, attempted murder, and conspiracy. The police raided his estate and found the men he had hired. When the dust settled, Claire and Jacob were finally safe. A few weeks later, she stood outside the garage, now rebuilt and repainted. Ethan was under a car again, humming quietly as Lily played nearby. Claire approached him, holding a document in her hand. What's this? He asked, wiping his hands. Something I owe you, she said. The board reinstated me as CEO. But I'm stepping down, and I made sure you and Lily are taken care of. Ethan frowned. Claire, I don't want your money. It's not money, she said, smiling. It's a new garage, fully equipped, in your name. Ethan looked at her, speechless. You gave me and my son our lives back, she continued softly. Let me give you something too. He finally smiled. You didn't have to. I wanted to. Lily ran up, holding Jacob's hand. Daddy, Jacob says we can visit their big house someday. Ethan laughed. We'll see about that. As the sun set behind them, the 4 of them stood outside the small garage, 2 families who had lost everything, but found hope in each other. Ethan glanced at Claire, and for the first time in years, he felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Peace. And maybe, just maybe, something more.